Introduction to LINQ. So LINQ stands for Language Integrated Query, which is a set of technologies integrated with the .NET languages like C# and the VB.NET to provide the query capabilities. So objective of LINQ is to provide the query capabilities using the .NET languages like C#, VB.NET and others. A LINQ is a unified data access technology to query the different data sources like SQL databases, including SQL Server, MySQL and Oracle, XML documents, AD.NET datasets, web services and C# objects. So instead of following the different syntaxes to query these different data sources, now you have to follow only one syntax to query all these data sources. LINQ is introduced with .NET Framework 3.5 in 2007. And in fact, it is a set of extension to the .NET Framework. So what are the methods you are using in LINQ queries? Those methods are the extension method available in the .NET. LINQ architecture. Now let's understand the LINQ architecture. So if you know here, mainly we are three types of data sources usually we query, like objects we query, relational database we query, and XML documents we query. So if you are willing to query the objects, so here there is a flavor LINQ object which you can use to query your objects. So objects can be your C# collection and C# generics, which you can query easily by following the LINQ objects. Then we are having a relational database. So it can be your SQL Server, it can be your MySQL, it can be your Oracle. So these RDBMS usually we query using the AD.NET. So here LINQ having the support for AD.NET as well. So here we can query LINQ to dataset, LINQ to SQL and LINQ to entities. So these are the three flavors we can use to query the RDBMS. Because if you are using the AD.NET, so in AD.NET we store the data in the dataset, we store the data in the data reader. So dataset we can query here with the help of LINQ queries easily. LINQ to SQL is here only to query the SQL Server. So if you are willing to query only SQL Server, then there is a LINQ to SQL. LINQ to entities is used with the entity framework. So if you are using entity framework like entity framework core to query the SQL Server, MySQL and any other data source, so in that case you can use a LINQ to entities. Then we are having here XML data source. So XML data source we query using LINQ to XML flavor. And guys, here all these different flavors having the common query syntax. So don't think like LINQ to object, like LINQ to dataset, LINQ to SQL, LINQ to entities and LINQ to XML. You need to write the different syntax. Now all are having the same syntax. These are only the flavors name. So when you are going to query XML data source, so what are the query you will write? That syntax is known as LINQ to XML. When you're writing the query to query the object, then that is known as LINQ to object. So these are the data sources we can query here using the LINQ enabled data sources. So here you can see the LINQ query can be written in C# language, Visual Basic language, like any other language that is supported by the LINQ. So here what are the syntax you are writing? So if you are a C# programmer, like Visual Basic programmer, so the LINQ syntax you will find simple and easy as you are writing in your C# language, as you are writing in your VB.NET language. So this is about the LINQ architecture. You should know how the different flavors of the LINQ are helping you to query the different data sources with the help of the language you already know. LINQ flavors. Now let's understand what the various LINQ flavors are available. So flavors means it's only the way to call that query syntax. So when you are using, let's say the object, so that flavor name is known as different. When you're querying the RDBMS, that flavor name would be different. When you're querying the XML, the flavor name would be different. But there is no difference in the query syntax. So query syntax would be same. It's not impacting anything here. So first flavor is here LINQ to object. So when you are querying the collection, the generics, so that flavor name is known as LINQ to object because here data source is a C# object. The next one is a link to AD.NET. So if you are going to query the RDBMS, obviously you need to use the AD.NET. So in AD.NET we are having here link to SQL. So link to SQL is only for SQL Server. So when you're going to query only SQL Server, so then you can use link to SQL, and the link to SQL is having a separate style of mapping the data source with the alphabet DBML file. So that is a DBML file. Nowadays nobody is using the link to SQL. Everybody is using the link to entities. That is a part of the entity framework or entity framework core nowadays. The next one is a link to dataset. So if you are using the AD.NET to query your RDBMS, so in that case we use the dataset for storing the data. So further, if you want to query the dataset, so that time also you can use link syntax. So that style is known as link to datasets. The next one is a link to entities. This is the most popular one nowadays. So when you're using entity framework 6.x, like when you're using the entity framework core, so whatever the style you are following there to write the query, that style is known as link to entities. So link to entities is the nowadays most popular one to query the RDBMS. The next one is a link to XML. It is also known as XLink. It is only for querying the XML documents. So if you are willing to query any XML docs, so in that case you can use a link to XML. So these are the various flavors. So flavors are not impacting the syntax anywhere. Syntax would be same everywhere. It's only deciding the data source you are using. So what are the data source you are using, based upon that the flavor name they are calling. It's simple. Advantages of LINQ. Now let's have a look. If you are using the LINQ, so what would be the advantages? So LINQ is a unified data access technology. So instead of learning the different technologies to query the different data sources, now you have to learn only one technology and you can query all the databases. The second one is that it supports type checking at compile time. So if you are using the AD.NET, like if you are having the experience with the AD.NET, there when we build the query on the runtime, so the error also comes on the runtime, because it is very difficult to type check the data which you are passing over there. But in case of LINQ query, the type of the data is checked at the compile time, because ultimately it's a object, it's a class. Behalf on that we are going to query our RDBMS. The next one is a supports the various powerful features like filtering, ordering and grouping with minimum lines of code. So these are the common operations we perform over the retrieved data. So these common operation we can easily perform with the help of LINQ with the minimum lines of code. This is the beauty of the LINQ queries. It supports debugging also. So you already know we are having the Visual Studio for debugging our .NET code. The similar way you can debug your LINQ queries as well. So it is easier for a developer to find out any missing requirement to debug the things. So these are the advantages of the LINQ we are having. Disadvantage of LINQ. Now let's understand what are the various disadvantages we are having when you are writing the LINQ queries. So don't think LINQ is the solution of all the types of queries. LINQ is not good for writing the complex queries as we write in the SQL. If you remembered in SQL, we write the procedure, we write the function, we write the various others complex queries as well. So don't write such queries with the help of LINQ, because if you are willing to write a procedure like code only in the C# code, what will happen? You will hit the database again and again to filter the things for doing the various database manipulation. So unnecessary, you are increasing the execution time to perform that task. So better way is here, use store procedure wherever possible when you are playing with the RDBMS. The next one is here, it does not take the full advantage of SQL features like cache execution plan for store procedure. So store procedure having a cache execution plan which help to execute the procedure at the next time in very short time period. So such things are not available in the LINQ. The LINQ queries you can pre-compiled to improve the execution time of the query. but it's not like the same set of features it's providing it to you as we are having in the store procedure. But it is not providing you the same set of features as we are having in the store procedure. Performance is also degraded if you don't write the LINQ query correctly. Sometimes it happens unknowingly we write a LINQ query in such a way like our query performance degraded. So my session is here before adopting the entity framework and entity framework core. You should learn LINQ fundamental, LINQ concept clearly. How the LINQ query is going to be executed, what are the various things are included here, so that you can optimize your query. You can optimize your query performance. So these are the things you should take care of. So my session is here before using the entity framework and entity framework core. You should learn LINQ fundamentals properly so that you can write a perfect query that would be executed in minimum time.